Welcome to my YouTube channel. A chain of volcanic islands resting at the far eastern edge of the Eurasian continent. Japan is a land where breathtaking natural landscapes merge with a rich tapestry of artistic traditions, forming a culture that stands apart from the rest of the world. Rising from the devastation of war, this nation transformed itself into an economic powerhouse, renowned for its automotive and electronics industries. From samurai and judo to sushi and bonsai, manga, and iconic monsters like Godzilla, Japan is a realm where ancient traditions and modern innovations coexist. Welcome to the land of the rising sun. Welcome to Japan. Origins and ancient history. Situated off Asia's eastern coast, Japan is an archipelago home to the Japanese people. Known locally as Nihon, or Nippon, meaning origin of the sun, Japan's name reflects its position as the first significant land in Asia to witness the sunrise each day. This name has been in use since around 700 AD. The English term Japan likely evolved from Nippon, possibly through Portuguese, Malay, or Mandarin Chinese influences. Human habitation in Japan dates back at least 16,000 years, beginning with the Jomon, a hunter-gatherer people. By 300 BC, the Yayoi people, migrating from the mainland, introduced the foundations of modern Japanese, alongside Chinese artistic and architectural influences. In 111 AD, the first recorded mention of Japan appeared in the Chinese Book of Han. Later, the Chinese records of the Three Kingdoms recognized Yamato as the dominant state on the archipelago. Buddhism arrived on the Korean peninsula in the 6th century, blending with Japan's native Shinto beliefs. Centralization of power began during the Asuka period, 6th–8th centuries, culminating in the Nara period, 8th century, where Japan's first emperor ruled from a court modeled after Chinese traditions. They moved the capital to Kyoto in 794, where it remained for nearly a millennium. Over time, the emperor's influence waned as regional clans rose to power. The 12th century saw civil war, with the Minamoto clan emerging victorious. Their leader became the first shogun, a military ruler who held true power, while the emperor remained a symbolic figurehead. Japan would experience military rule for the next 7 centuries. Throughout these centuries, power shifted between regional clans and the shogunate, withstanding Mongol invasions in 1274 and 1281. However, the shogun's authority crumbled by 1467, leading to the Sengoku period, a century of violent civil war among feudal warlords known as daimyo. The arrival of Europeans, notably the Portuguese, Dutch, and English, added to the complexity of this era, bringing Christianity and firearms to Japan. This period of turmoil ended in 1600 at the Battle of Sekigahara, where Tokugawa Ieyasu triumphed and unified the clans. The powerless emperor remained in Kyoto, while the shogun Tokugawa moved his court to Edo, later known as Tokyo, where his successors ruled for the next 250 years. To maintain control, the shogunate banned Christianity and isolated Japan from external influences. Foreigners were barred from entering, and Japanese were forbidden to travel abroad, with only a single Dutch outpost allowed to operate. No other nation in history has pursued such an extensive policy of isolation for so long. Despite this, Japan's economy and arts flourished, and by 1700, its population had grown to 30 million, with Edo being the largest city in the world by 1721. Education thrived, and it is believed that Japan had the highest literacy rate globally at that time. Modern history. By the mid-1800s, the shogunate's power had waned due to economic stagnation and growing unrest. Foreign intervention, particularly by the United States, triggered significant changes. In 1852, a fleet led by Commodore Perry was dispatched by the U.S. President to open Japan to trade. In 1853, this fleet arrived in Edo Bay, using military displays to compel Japan to permit foreign trade. This event destabilized the shogunate, leading to its downfall in 1868 during the Meiji Restoration, which restored the emperor's power and marked the start of rapid modernization. The capital was moved from Kyoto to Edo, now renamed Tokyo, or Eastern Kyoto. Japan's transformation from a feudal society to an industrialized nation was swift and unprecedented. Western experts were brought in to guide the construction of railways and factories, while traditional dress and military uniforms were replaced by European styles. Despite adopting many Western practices, Japan maintained its cultural identity rooted in Buddhism and Shintoism. This period also saw the colonization of Hokkaido, which had previously been inhabited by the Ainu people. The population of Hokkaido surged from 70,000 in 1850 to over 4 million by 1950, with the Ainu culture nearly disappearing. Japan lacked a democratic tradition, and while an elected House of Representatives was established, only 2% of the population could vote, with real power remaining with the emperor. The military grew increasingly influential, believing that colonial expansion was essential for Japan's survival. By 1910, Japan had annexed Taiwan and Korea and occupied Manchuria in 1931. Inspired by European fascism, Japan's military leaders pursued aggressive expansion, invading China in 1937. Tensions with Western powers, particularly the United States and Britain, escalated as Japan aligned with fascist Germany and Italy. The occupation of French Indochina led to Western trade embargoes, including an oil embargo, pushing Japan to launch the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, leading to war with the United States. Japan's initial military successes were followed by brutal occupation policies, including war crimes against POWs and civilians in occupied territories. As the tide of war turned, Japan faced fierce resistance, culminating in the devastating atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. These bombings, along with conventional attacks, left Japan in ruins, leading to its unconditional surrender. For the first time in history, Japan was occupied by a foreign power, with the US overseeing major reforms during the occupation from 1945 to 1952. These reforms laid the foundation for Japan's post-war economic miracle, transforming the nation into a global economic leader by the late 1960s. However, the economic boom ended in 1989, leading to a period of stagnation known as the lost decade. Despite these challenges, Japan remains a significant global player, with a government system comprising a prime minister and a bicameral parliament known as the National Diet. The current emperor, Naruhito, continues a lineage that traces back to the 7th century BC, making Japan the world's oldest surviving monarchy. Geography of Japan. Japan is a vast archipelago consisting of over 6,800 islands, with the majority of its population residing on the 4 main islands: Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. Additionally, Okinawa, located halfway between Taiwan and China, is a notable exception. The islands stretch across 20 degrees of latitude, from subtropical regions in the south to cold, snowy climates in the north. The humid subtropical climate dominates much of Japan, characterized by hot summers, cool winters, and year-round precipitation. The northern regions of Honshu and Hokkaido experience more continental climates, with cold, snowy winters and warm, hot summers. Japan's diverse climate and geography have significantly influenced its culture and art, particularly the celebration of the 4 distinct seasons. Spring, marked by the blooming of cherry blossoms, or sakura, is a time of national celebration with the tradition of hanami, where people gather beneath the trees to enjoy food and drink. Japan's landscape is largely mountainous, with 2/3 of the land unsuitable for agriculture or urban development. As a result, much of the country remains covered in natural forests, contributing to its unique biodiversity and environmental preservation efforts. Thanks for watching, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.